All right, great. Thanks everyone that came out tonight. My name is James Humay, and I'm running to be the next commissioner here in Cook County for the 1st District. If you're like me, you're concerned about the direction Cook County is headed. We have skyrocketing property taxes that are reducing the availability of affordable housing, gentrifying our neighborhoods, and forcing longtime residents of Cook County to flee for areas with lower tax burdens. With the highest maximum sales tax in the country, Cook County taxes on essential goods that working families need to survive, such as food, fuel, clothing, and personal care items, are driving up the cost of living. I'm running on a platform of individual liberty, personal accountability, fiscal responsibility, and community empowerment. I pledge to reduce the obstacles that government presents in order to empower our communities and neighborhoods to flourish. I promise not to impose the will of the administration upon the people, but rather to recognize the consent of the governed. I believe that my message of people over politics, community, not cronyism, and self-reliance instead of subjugation will resonate with the voters of the 1st District. I welcome those that share this vision to join me in bringing about a new way of governing to the people of Cook County. And to be a beacon of liberty, not just here at home, but for the whole world to witness. So, get into a little bit about what it's all about. What is the Cook County Board of Commissioners and what the heck do they do? It's a good question. Basically, the county board oversees county operations. They approve budgets of all the elected county officials, treasurer, sheriff, assessor, county clerk, etc. They're the governing board and legislative body of the county. Consists of 17 county districts plus the county board president. Commissioners also serve as the board for the Cook County Forest Preserve, which is its own special purpose taxing district. That's a whole story for another day. The board sets policies, levies taxes, passes ordinance, approves all county purchases of more than $10,000, and they adopt an annual budget for the county government. Where's the 1st District? The district that I'm running to represent. It's quite a diverse area. It runs from Ukrainian Village, my home neighborhood, parts of Wicker Park, the southern parts of Humboldt Park, Garfield Park, into the Austin neighborhood, Galewood, Oak Park, and then west to some of the suburbs of Maywood, Broadview, and Bellwood. Demographics. The total population is 294,922. Each of the 17 districts are roughly divided into about 300,000 people. Voting age population is about 230,000. Demographics by race, you can see it's about 50% African American, 23% Caucasian, Hispanic, Asian make up the rest. And each of those areas are pretty well defined. Obviously, I'm in Ukrainian Village, so it's a very Caucasian area. Humboldt Park is very Hispanic. Garfield Park, Austin, and some of the western suburbs like Broadview, Bellwood, Maywood are heavily African American. Getting into some points of the campaign platform, start off with one of my favorites, and that's property taxes. As I mentioned in my opening, property taxes are an issue that a lot of people in my district are concerned about. All taxation is theft. Let me just get that out there. But if we could wave a magic wand and make it go away, that would be great. But there has to be a plan in place to kind of gradually wean ourselves from this form of revenue. My proposal is to replace property taxes with land value taxes. What we're doing is taxing the value of the land, not the structures or the buildings that are on that land. It makes land speculation less profitable. It reduces the incentive for speculation, gentrification, and fringe suburban development. And shifting the tax burden off building values onto land values can result in bringing down the cost of both land and buildings. It allows folks to make improvements upon their property and their homes without penalizing them with a higher tax rate. So instead of allowing homes and buildings to run into disrepair, they can be improved upon, repaired, without that burden of additional taxation. Sales taxes. Cook County has the highest maximum sales tax of any county in the United States. I will work towards eliminating sales taxes on these essential goods and services that people need to survive, that they depend on. Taxes on gasoline, food, clothing, personal care items. I mean, people on the south side already know they go to Indiana to buy their groceries because there's no sales tax on food. That's ridiculous that there's sales tax here in the state, and I would do my part to eliminate or reduce that tax here in Cook County. I pledge to vote against any new taxes or tax increases. Budget reduction. Now, if you're going to reduce taxes, you have to reduce spending. Using data already available by the county auditor's office, I will identify where budgets can be reduced or eliminated. I pledge to decrease the budget of my district by 30%. Each district has a budget of about $350,000. So I figure I will reduce that by at least $90,000. Outsource and privatize county operations wherever feasible. Information technology is a great example. I believe the IT budget for Cook County is $3.5 million for information technology. This is something that can be easily outsourced to an IT company that will reduce what the taxpayers have to pay, and you're not hiring more employees to go on the pensions. Anything that we can outsource means fewer government employees taking pensions. Before we can address the whole pension issue, let's stop adding to it. Let's stop the bleeding. Shift county services to municipal jurisdictions where possible. There's a lot of overlap between what the county does and what townships do and what cities do. Let's eliminate that. And use voluntary crowdsourcing and user fees to fund certain departments, such as the forest preserves. Now, it's not going to probably replace the entire budget, but if we can offset costs by fundraising, user fees, that's going to save the taxpayers money. Mandates, my favorite. We cannot forget what happened during the pandemic and the people responsible for it. They do not deserve their job anymore. The impact is still being felt by businesses that may never recover. How many businesses, restaurants, mom and pop stores shut down, never to reopen in your own neighborhood?
Shoes pub.
Yeah, and of course the children of Cook County that suffered irreparable harm. We know, studies coming out now showing how much damage was done to the development of children during the lockdowns. This was not caused by the pandemic. This was caused by the government, literally causing harm to our children. The county board president should not have the unconstrained authority to make these decisions, to shut down our lives, to shut down commerce. Any emergency powers must be highly limited in both scope and duration. 24 hours, 48 hours, sure. And they do not get automatically renewed without the consent of the board. Crime and public safety. This is another big issue that will be facing all the candidates here in Cook County. We have to protect victims' rights. We have to look at the rights of victims first and foremost. It should be the basis of our criminal justice system. Victims should have the right to be present, consulted, and heard throughout the prosecution of their case. There should also be restitution mandatory for any damages done, including property loss, medical costs, pain, and suffering. And prohibition. Drug laws do more to make our community unsafe than any other factor. We had a perfect example of this here in Chicago during alcohol prohibition. It directly led to the organized crime. Drug prohibition has given us street gangs, drive-by shootings, and all the other problems that come with prohibition. We have to stop arresting and prosecuting people for these victimless crimes. And as we know, the people that suffer most under these draconian drug laws are minorities and people of color. That's just a fact. Statistics prove it. At a disproportionate rate, they are suffering the brunt of the drug war. We must protect the right of self-defense. Private ownership of firearms is part of the solution. It is not the problem to the crime of the crime. Evidence shows self-defense with firearms is the safest and fastest response. Does anyone know what the Chicago Police Department response is to a crime in 2020 and 2021?
At least 45 minutes.
We don't know because by law they're supposed to report those numbers to us, and they haven't for the past 2 years.
I'm still waiting to report my robbery. 2 years ago.
We have to be responsible for our own defense. I will work to repeal bans on weapons, magazines, ammunition, as well as any other restrictions that create barriers for victims to defend themselves. Cook County had a very high tax on ammunition as of 2019. The Illinois Supreme Court, not known for its conservative leanings, ruled that to be unconstitutional. I already know that the county board doesn't follow the Second Amendment or any constitutional laws. They do what they want, regardless of the law. Prosecution of individuals simply for exercising their right of self-defense for simply possessing a firearm, this must cease immediately. Like the drug laws. Any increase in penalties for gun laws are going to affect minorities, people of color, just like it happened with drug prohibition. And finally, we need to address the root cause of crime. We're not going to solve any of these problems with government programs, welfare, government schools, government policy that drives the economy. Is a society that breeds criminals. So by reducing the tax burdens in our neighborhoods and communities, opening them up for more economic development and community empowerment is going to have a direct impact on reducing the rate of crime here in Cook County. How can you help? Volunteer. Boots on the ground. Number one thing. If I had a dozen people that could hit the streets with flyers, buttons, literature, that'd really go a long way. Donate. The duopoly has deep pockets. I don't have any paid staff. Every cent donated to my campaign is going to go directly to the message of liberty and getting that out to the voters. And social media. You can follow my campaign. I've got them all. I got the Twitter, I got the Facebook, I even got the TikTok going now. Follow it, share it, repost it, and get that message out there. There's little QR codes if you'd like to donate to the campaign. It's also available on the screen. You can find my social media, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, for Liberty. And go ahead, follow me and share that social media with your channels as well.